Bryce Duskin on the Rural Radio Network. Convention coverage from the 2026 Cattle Industry Convention NCBA Trade Show is powered by the Nebraska Cattlemen. And we've got an exciting announcement to share with you. The Wineglass Ranch of Imperial, Nebraska was awarded the National Environmental Stewardship Award. Logan Pribbeno is joining us. Of course, you ranch with your folks, Jeff and Connie. They're here and sent you over to visit with us. I appreciate you being willing to tell us about this award, because this is a big deal. I want to let our listeners know that first, though. I've wondered this, as I've seen you guys have several awards over the years. Wineglass Ranch, where did the name come from?
Very good question. So we have the Wineglass brand, and my great-great-grandmother registered that brand at the end of Prohibition. She did like to drink a little wine, and I think in celebration of the end of Prohibition, she went and registered that brand, and that brand was, it was always what we ran, and so we're the Wineglass Ranch. We're the Wineglass Ranch with the Wineglass brand.
Does the brand actually look like a wine glass?
It does, absolutely. Yeah, it's a covered wine glass, is what it is.
How about that?
Yeah, it's a great one, actually.
I'm glad I got an answer for that long-standing question I've had.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's been kind of nice. My great-great-grandmother registered that, and she was a McCoy, and she knew at that point that her daughter was going to come back and ranch. So it was going to go from the McCoy to a different family name, and it's been really good for us, because we've changed family names 4 times with some maternal transfers, and I've got 2 daughters. So a typical ranch, it's the first, the last name, but the Wineglass has been for us because we've changed names several times, and probably have a couple more in our history, hopefully.
How many years has the ranch been around? By
140.
140 years.
Yep, so I'm the 5th generation operator.
What's the ranch look like?
It is southwest Nebraska is the Sand Sage Hills, so very similar to the Sand Hills, but we do have the sage component, and we're right where the farmland is too. So we have a dryland farm as well that butts up next to the ranch, and Chase County is very unique in that it's about 1/3 rangeland, 1/3 irrigated farmland, and 1/3 dryland farm ground. And we run our cows and our stockers on farm ground extensively as well, and really use that to our advantage.
So tell me about this award, the National Environmental Stewardship Award. What made you guys interested in getting an application in?
Well, Nebraska Cattlemen nominated us. They've submitted like a beautiful 16-page glowing review of how wonderful we were. I was most honored when reading that. When that office put it together, Laura and Libby, they did a wonderful job and nominated us, and so we won our Region 7, and then we were very surprised to learn last night that we're the national winner, so it was quite an honor.
What are some of the practices you guys have on the ranch that make you eligible for this kind of an award?
Sure, so our rotational grazing system, we do like to rest our range as much as possible. We have extensive cross-fencing systems. My dad started that in the late 80s after attending Ranching for Profit. He saw the range rebound immediately, so he started providing rest and saw results immediately. In particular, sand blue came back within 1 or 2 years of that rest system. Also, no-till farming and cover crops. We graze a lot, about 1/3 to 40% of our dryland acres are full-season cover crops annually, and we'll just take a group of steers out there, like a 700 to 800, when we'll use polywire and kind of harvest it that way, and we graze the best and leave the rest. It's a critical component of our farming system to leave that cover crop residue and that manure to really help productively and economically grow those grain crops following that. So having those cover crops in our farming system cheapen up our practice as a whole. So farmers are talking about losing money on corn and soybeans. The cover crop really allows us to profit and produce crops at a lower cost.
Did I see this right? At any given time, 95% of your grazing land is not being used?
That's correct. Yeah, at any given time, 90% is being rested, wow. and that rest is really what allows you to grow that grass. And the cash flow from a farm or ranch is the soil. That's what provides that cash flow, and we feel like we're making money and getting ahead when we're resting it, not when we're grazing. So. When I was in high school, my brother and I and a whole team of guys, we put in hundreds of miles of high tensile fence. I bet my brother and I built more high tensile fence than probably anyone in the state of Nebraska. But I'm glad it was put in when it was, and we're continuing that tradition of providing rest for the range.
How have some of these practices paid dividends over the past couple of years? We've gone through drought.
Yeah.
You guys are always fighting drought in Southwest Nebraska.
We are. If it's dry anywhere in the state, it seems like it starts in Southwest Nebraska.
How have you seen these practices of rotational grazing and resting the land, letting it come back, especially over the past couple of years, paid dividends?
Well, with rotational grazing, you always see where you're going, and you can inventory your grass, and you have advanced notice, I think, on an issue, and you have to be in your cattle. You know, we move our cattle every week, so we're always in our cattle, and I'm looking ahead at the grass, and if you are in a drought situation, and I've seen a couple of them already, like 2022 was rough. 2022, we had 9 inches of precipitation for the whole year, and we watched ungrazed pastures go backwards on us. That was a very tough thing to deal with. What's nice about our environment, though, is we have the farm ground that we could flex on. Our corn crop failed in 2022, so we just took our stalkers and started directly grazing our dryland corn, and it was a good relief valve. So we always have a little, with our farm, you know, being where it is next to the ranch, we always have kind of a relief valve if it gets terrible.
Well, what kind of advice do you give to people when they see you're active on Twitter? I was telling
Sure.
you to follow some of the
Yeah.
things you're doing. You're letting people know what's going on the ranch. When people ask you, how do I start down this path? I want to be able to respond to drought better. What kind of advice do you give them to deploy some of these tactics that you've had?
Yeah, so managed grazing, it puts you, it gets your eye on the grass. Like, it takes years to develop it, but when you do any sort of managed grazing, and we do rotational grazing, but any sort of managed grazing is critical, because you just can see what you have and where you're going, and you can forecast and make plans for, hey, it looks like I'm going to be in a pickle in about 60 days, versus, oh, shoot, I've got a problem. Next week, I got to figure it out. If you've got 60 days notice, it gives you can sell your stalkers, so you don't have to cull on your cow herd as hard, or cull on your cow herd so you can run the stalkers. With the managed grazing, it just gives you time, and time is, when you have time on your side, you're able to think a little clearer.
And finally, what was your reaction? Last night, you guys were named the National Environmental Stewardship Award winner.
Euphoric. So we had the whole family, and my parents and my wife and daughters, and when we went back up on that stage, it felt euphoric. So it was a very pleasant surprise.
Our congratulations to the Wineglass Ranch, Imperial, Nebraska. Logan Pribbeno joining us as we talk about their achievement they got here at the Cattle Industry Convention at NCBA Trade Show. I'm Bryce Duskett reporting.